the saying in the world, in this falling, declining world, that you should not care what anybody thinks. Only do you. Only focus on you. Only focus on what you want to do. You know that saying? Yeah, or that mindset. It dwells richly in this last 21st century, where in order to cope with the cold-spiritedness or the cold-heartedness of humanity, people are telling themselves that it's okay to be unfazed by what other people think. The Bible, it is written in Matthew 24 that because of an increase in lawlessness, the love of many will grow cold. There is a saying in the world that goes something along the lines of hurt people hurt people. So when you are not receiving love from people because their love has grown cold, you will then incline unto a propensity towards hurting people, given that you're being hurt. So the cycle continues. Do you understand what I'm saying? With this cycle continuing, you're then dealing with a cold-hearted society that is trying to act like they're okay with not being loved. They're trying to act like they're okay with aloof dispositions in people, with disquieting apathy in their ecosystem. Their coping mechanism is to essentially callous themselves also. Their reaction is to be unemotional, just like everybody around them is unemotional. So when you add a multiplier to that on society, where people are coping with people's loss of love in their hearts by in and of themselves wearing a mask of emotionlessness, we are dealing with a world that is discombobulated, Frankensteinic, frankly, from what God created. The Lord never ever intended for mankind to not care what mankind thinks. That's why he made Eve for Adam, because man is not meant to be alone. The Lord himself is a fellowship, Holy Spirit, Father and Son. The Lord never intended for human beings to not regard the care, the compassion, the recognition of one's existence by fellow people. So when human beings as a collective make a decision to disregard their inherent God-built need for each other's approval, they create a satanic society of people who are absent of the image of God in them. They have left that particular estate and insisted on walking like a devil who is unemotional. It is apparently a virtue in 2023 to never mind being savage, but stoic, essentially unfeeling, or it appears you are unfeeling. You are not a person that wears your heart on your sleeve. You pride yourself in hiding your emotions, and you also pride yourself in acting towards other people like you don't care how they feel about you. It can never be true. You are not made to be that way. So therefore, to act that way is to walk in an unnaturalness, is to walk in a self-deception. For humanity to think that they can continue on not batting an eyelid at the aloofness of one another against each other is naive. Do you understand? God recognized the need for Adam to have Eve. Humanity punishes humanity by putting them in solitary confinement. It is a form of punishment. It is a form of correctional action, apparently. Rehabilitation, apparently. In prisons, to put a person in confinement from other human beings because they recognize that there is power in isolating a human being. If at all you can punish a person by putting them alone, it therefore must mean that solitude is of the devil. It is not okay. That is why God's servants have always, all throughout history, been isolated. They've been thrown in ditches. Look at what happened with Joseph. Look at what happened with Peter in the prison. Look at what happened with Job. Look at what happened with David running away from his own camp, fleeing from Saul. Look at, basically, Nebuchadnezzar was judged by God by being put in isolation and solitude for 7 years, eating grass like a beast. If solitude is a form of punishment, it must necessarily mean that it is extremely and excruciatingly punishing of a society to individualize or compartmentalize every person in here, to cause people to think in such a siloed mindset that they don't regard their fellow man. You cannot merely be content, humanity, with the fact that everybody around you is savage. You ought be a cut above the rest. You ought care that no one cares, because you're different. It is prideful and arrogant to run with the grain of savagery and conceit because you are reacting to everybody's savagery and conceit. You cannot be like the devil just because people have been to you like devils. Because on that day, you do no different thing, and you are fast tracking the end of the world. Not caring about what people think or feel is not of God. And so when you pride yourself in apathy or aloofness against any individual person, apparently, allegedly, from what I saw in my dream, the Lord is going to judge you with that. Where it is that the aloof disposition that you wore, caring not for anybody's soul, caring not for anybody's sorrow about the fact that you don't care about them, all these things that you do in ignoring people, what is this, reverse psychology, silent treatment? Yes, like it, guys, there's a silent treatment. I have endured it quite incredibly, but I've never given anybody the silent treatment. I have never under heaven had anybody talk to me and then I just made a decision to not respond. Like there is just so much discomfort in ignoring an audible voice in the room that is talking to you, and you know it's talking to you. I could never do it. And so I find it challenging to gauge others who can. Because what under heaven do you have to do or be to be that calloused to a point of ignoring a person in the same environment as you talking? They are talking and you are not, never mind not listening, but you are acting like they're invisible. Yeah. I've endured silent treatment for years. People who are listening to me can hear my voice is quite audible, but acting like I Niko. Well, apparently the tables are about to turn any minute now. Where it is that I will be the one giving them the silent treatment, except not directly, not deliberately. I will not be going out of my way to ignore them because I will not be in the plane that they're at. It is appointed unto man to die once, and thereafter is the judgment. So once they have passed away, they get severed from this reality, meaning that anybody that ignores them, it's not of any fault of their own. It's because they're dead. 1 minute. Okay, that was me doing edits. I apologize. As in this issue with my speech lag, like I cannot deal. 1 minute. Themselves in being insensitive, in insensitivity, and guys. Anyway, whatever. Not last night. Was it just this afternoon or whatever? I had this vision that I'm telling you guys now about, where people were in hell, and all they could think about was the fact that I did not care that they were there and that I wasn't sparing them any thoughts. It turns out that this behavior by the human race of being savage is a seed that they're sowing. It's written in God's word that you reap what you sow. You reap what you sow. You will reap corruption, but you reap eternal life when you sow to the spirit. When you sow to the flesh, you reap corruption. It turns out this is eternal. Never mind just here on earth, where it is that upon sowing apathy, you reap apathy upon death. Upon sowing indiscretion, you reap indiscretion upon death. Basically, people not appropriately responding to ukshana kwakho. Death has a sting. It ought hurt. It ought hurt. But some people live such evil, tormentive lives that people consider them good riddance. Only think about AKA, I will use that guy in the country, the celebrity. Remember how Bonang reacted to AKA's death? According to what vision I saw, AKA is currently tormented by the fact that Bonang did not care that he died. He sowed to his flesh and he reaped that corruption. He reaped apathy at his death by somebody that he hurt. Like all the people that people have just disregarded and treated like scum. Apparently this is something that is a form of torture, one of the methods of torture in eternity, where it is that a AKA, for instance, will be perpetually ruminating on the fact that Ubonang didn't even send condolences to my family. She did not care to attend my funeral because I was a menace. I was a menace of a man to her. I could go on and on. Like, if these people do not repent and go to heaven, some of the things that torment them in eternity are people's reactions to their deaths. So now I will speak of, for instance, members of Hamas. Never mind Hamas. Let me think about, remember Osama bin Laden when he passed away? Remember the celebration by America? Remember how much they jumped up and down over the death of a person? Death is supposed to sting. When somebody is eliminated from the earth, it is supposed to hurt. People are supposed to be somber, and they're supposed to linger on this person's death for a while. And those thoughts are that are basically with you. Those thoughts that are with you, even in death, are apparently very comforting eternally, if at all you're safe in Christ, but they are also tormenting if you are lost. Tormenting if you're lost. Like a man that commits suicide leaving his wife and children behind will be tormented by the pain of his widow over his selfishness and the thoughts of the widow, whatever she is thinking about why this guy committed suicide, even if this widow does not vocalize it to the world so she doesn't look insensitive. If she is embittered by a husband that committed suicide, like Ricky Rick, who took his life, Anali Bianca Lebana, this man gets tormented in eternity by thoughts that no one else has access to, because it would be taboo for a widow to be resentful of a man who committed suicide on her. So upon keeping quiet, nobody else knows how she truly feels, how embittered she is, and apparently it is tormentive to these people. Like, thoughts are tormentive in hell, from what I saw. And so to pride yourself in savagery, apathy, disregard, to get a person to a point where they're like good riddance when you die, you win yourself just an amplitude of torment in eternity. So terrorists that pass away having massacred in a city, having ransacked a city, and then they finally get brought down, they get tormented by those who rejoice at their death. Like the local rapist, Jack the Ripper, for instance, that finally gets brought to the ground. They get tormented by the relief of society when he is found dead, when he is apprehended by having the police kill him. They are tormented by celebration at their death. So when you pride, like the criminals who terrorize a local community, criminals who terrorize a people group for any amount of time, when finally they get gunned down, when they get to hell, from what the Lord showed me, they get tormented by the relief of that community over their death, and it will be a perpetual torment forever. Wire. They will know what the lady whose son was killed felt, the lady whose daughter was raped felt, the family that even though nobody died, nobody was hurt by this gang member, they nonetheless rejoiced at the death of a gang member because everyone had to live like behind fortified homes due to this terrorist. They will be perpetually tormented by the relief of society over them, because it is not good for man to be alone. And when everybody is celebrating where you are spending eternal solitary confinement, it is especially bruising. It is especially tormenting. So everybody that has put me in a position to suffer want, isolation, loneliness, as a righteous person upon whose life this is a travesty, just by merely sitting where you're sitting guilty, pitying me, yet doing absolutely nothing about it, the day is going to arrive where my isolation and my solitude, with no regard for my life, me thinking, me believing that no one cares, like I'm sitting in this dump, imaginative, that no one is moved by my sorry life, that no one cares. My mom, that's like it. That's one person that I am scared for her eternity. I am scared for my mom's eternity. She is going to the worst part of hell, and she will experience amplitudes upon amplitudes of severity of judgment above what I'm enduring. Like, whatever you did to people, you will get it returned to you multifold. The level of isolation she endured me through, the level of apathy at the abuse by the world around me, what she is acting like is apathy. It doesn't even matter if you're pretending. Bottom line is, if you ever made anybody feel unloved, if you ever made anybody feel unwanted, if you ever made anybody feel like no one cares, just die. If you ever made anybody feel pretending, you're faking it, you're posing, you're making like the last days generation that is wearing savagery for a bodysuit, a onesie of savagery because you're coping, and so your strategy upon coping is by passing everyone in the room shade so they can think you're strong, so they can think you're unemotional, yet deep down inside you feel differently. Yeah, well, herein lies the deal. The fact remains, everybody believes whatever facade you're putting on as real, and so that being the reality to other people, albeit being a fake existence in you, you will feel that same thing in eternity, where it is that the reality is you wanted love, you wanted acknowledgement, and you also wanted to give love and give acknowledgement, but you withheld it. Now you will be longing for acknowledgement and love, and everybody that you long to get it from will literally not give it back to you. As in, they will not be posing, they will not be defending, they will not be acting, they will not be in a psychosis where they want to believe that it is okay for a human being to imagine they can live without other people. So the level of destitution that I have been left to live in, people are standing back watching me suffer because they hope the day's gonna arrive when I'm going to permit rape. People are waiting for me to allow rape. They are waiting for me to accommodate indoda, a man that desperately wants to take care of me. Women are hoping that the day's gonna arrive when I'm going to put myself in the hands of a man to be a mistress, just so I can live. The visions and the dreams that I get about what people intend for my life are so disgusting. They are so unraveling and so unnerving and so saddening, and they cause me so much anxiety that that's exactly what it is that people are gonna reap because they are sowing it. People are waiting ngathi base bus stop uthi mina ngihambe ngiyolala nendoda echadile or ngiyothatha indoda no in whatever form shape he comes in, noma thakatha noma hlala blome no Satan noma ngazi ukuthi unengqulaza. Like a man, knowing that a man is HIV positive, knowing that a man has been married like a good 3, 4, 5 times before, knowing that a man has got like 10 kids out here in these streets, knowing that a man has got HIV, knowing these things, that I must just nyozi pawns and gizi telling gizi lahlele in the hands of such a man as that, just to live or commit suicide. Like, people are literally waiting for any eventuality of mine, but definitely not ultimate recovery, recompense, and breakthrough. Mistress. I am being waited for to sleep with an HIV positive man. I'm being waited for to sleep with a man out of wedlock at all, whether or not we are gula. I am being waited for to have a baby out of wedlock before I can get a job at all. I am being waited for to be the side piece of some dude on Anglemosadi. I am being waited for to settle for men by Loyang that I know are doing witchcraft, but hey, he's prepared to take care of me. I am being waited for to also abandon Jesus upon realizing that he's doing nothing for me anyway. And then gihambe mina ngiyotwasa, because apparently my spiritual gifting is evidence of the fact that I've got a calling to go mina ngiyoba isangoma, when giftings come from God and not the devil. Outside of my life doing, and it is these very people by eming bashapileng statue outside of an innocent woman's life, waiting for her, waiting for a woman to go and bust a bullet into her own brain spiritually. Spiritually, they're waiting for me. Like, guys, with this level of conviction, imagine the day arriving when I am lying in bed with some guy humping, grunting on me, because he finally managed to convince me that there is no Jesus coming for me. Can you imagine how raped I would feel on that day? Can you imagine how my heart would be feeling on the day? Can you imagine how I would be feeling? Can you imagine the desecration? I don't want to die, it's have a suicide. And so some dude is literally exercising on my body. I'm like a Nando's chicken, just lying there. Just so I don't live the rest of my life in sorrow. Just cause. Can you imagine how raped I would feel? Even if I appeared to consent. And Gunabafazi waiting for that to happen. Why women are not bleeding at the prospect of a woman's rape is beyond me. It's that last days. That's how far gone we are as a society. Why Basadi are not mourning over rape? Like, for some men in Jefela, like, you're thoroughly waiting for amadota like proper, for a man to finally pierce into me, and then you sit back on some we finally made her do. What it is that all of y'all did without being raped. You consented to being taken by amadota twele, lady slay queens. You allowed yourself that you knew are devil worshippers, but for you it doesn't matter. It's just money. You allowed yourself to be in a relationship with a guy you can tell is manipulating you spiritually. You married a man You consented to that utseba. Knowingly you walked down the aisle to an evil man. So when you're busy being grunted over every night, honey, you are not being raped on that day. You are happily with a man otsubileng matekwana satan. Otawe. And oh happy to be in that situation. And so far as ako rekela dieta, ako tlhokometse le bana ba teng. Mara jwanong when you're gonna go and grab a woman o sa buying skele mo sa ntja e jwalo, and then you wanna force her hore a betse ka wena, alo accommodate that ntja e loyang, you are putting me in a position to be raped. And it is that kind of stuff that is gonna torment you eternally. Where it is that wonke umuntu around you akena ndaba that uya dlwengulwa la ukhona. Nobody cares that you are having to say, yes guys, I don't know how many times I've seen this scene. Yako set it up. You know Jada Pinkett in Set It Up. She gets raped, but it doesn't look like rape. She gets raped. She's desperate to get ahead, to get something done, to pay for the fees of her brother, the university college tuition or whatever. The brother of which eventually ends up dying. But before then, because there's some filthy man that keeps on pursuing Jada in her ecosystem, on some I'll take care of you, I'll give you money, I'll give you what you want, just let me have you, like a salivating, disgusting man. And when the brother makes it into college but does not have the money to pay for registration or whatever, she then finally decides uti she's gonna suck it up and sleep with a man that's gonna give her money, that she's then going to use that money to pay for her brother's tuition. And then this guy just humps on her while she lies there. That's what people are expecting me to do. They want me to just lie on a bed where some dude battling is just gonna grunt on me ang fufulel. After 12 years of chastity, I gotta let a man just have me nje, because ni cartel. For people to expect me to end up with this guy from America, that's what they're saying. No man ngasebenzisa condom, seeing as he's HIV positive, that's irrelevant. You are expecting me to lie in a bed while some disgusting man sweats on me. And you, as women, are not disquieted by that. If it does not cause your hearts to bleed when you see a woman getting sexually abused, on that day, there was this girl that is sitting so heavy on my heart from Israel that was taken by Hamas, who was raped. It is clear, because even though we never saw them afflicting her that way, in her nether regions, there is she had period blood on her pants at the back, but she wasn't on her period. She was bleeding from rape. Do you understand? And we got to see that. We got to reach conclusions that she was raped, likely multiple times by multiple men who left her so raw that she bled. And bleeding on her pants, we got to see her from the back that like these guys literally gang raped her and then told her put your pants back on, and as she was sitting down she bled on those pants, and we got to see her from the back. Every time I see the scene of that girl, she's apparently only 17 years old, I can't eat, I can't touch food, I can't focus on what I'm doing, I can't continue, because it bleeds me so badly to understand that a woman has been done to a woman. She's been desecrated by careless men, monsters. And if she lives to tell the story, she will never be the same again. She will never be the same again. And when women can sit around waiting for when women can sit around waiting for a woman to bleed visibly, so and you are just standing there cold as ice, inspired by nothing but jealousy, you are not a woman. I can't say that enough. How Musadi? I don't know how any woman can ride out the prospect of any other woman's rape. I don't know. Another story for another day. How they function. It ought to be a sore point for any woman to find out that any other woman has been forcibly had sexually. And when you throw a woman in a position that she might have consented, bottom line is, if Meranga Fune at first and then you impoverished her and you starved her and you put her in such a bad position that uzoqina agibelwe indoda ezomjuluyela, you are not umfazi on that day. Angazi ukuthi uyini winja. You are a troll, a zombie. Do you understand? Because no woman should ever be content with the observation of the likely impending rape of a woman. And kunendoda engifuna high and long ekorobela, unengulaza, uhlale America. And I've been crying about this guy for a minute. They are heavy into demonic worship. Some of them have put me in a position to never ever work again. Until she finally capitulates. That is rape. The kind that makes you bleed. Because Lenja Lena is trying to make sure that you are having a hard time, that you are bleeding, that you're burning, that you're raw. He is trying to hurt you. That's what he's doing with his manhood. I've got those kinds of men looking at me. And from what the Lord has shown me in the dreams and the visions that I keep getting, they're dying. These men are dying. Do you understand? They are dying. They're going to hell. In their numbers, I had a vision of this guy from America as one of them, but there were quite a few guys, men, in hell, saddened, broken, devastated, tormented by the fact that that they are dead, and also that I am relieved, because upon them passing away, I will gain immediate relief from their witchcraft, even if I didn't know them. Some of them angbazi. The only one I recognized was that rapist from America, that animal from America. That was the only one I recognized, because he's the one that I've been vocalizing my torments concerning on the rooftops. God, he's not the only one. He's not the only one. Get band of miscreants. It's like Hamas, a whole bunch of men rocking up and raping a whole bunch of women in Israel. It's a band of them. Some of them, I don't know all of them except one. Thoroughly sitting, trying to force Umfazi to do what they want her to do. And Basadi, you're the ones that put me in a position to get me looked at like that by rapist men. You have gotten me gawked at by men who don't want to go to prison for rape, and so they rape women with witchcraft. And given that I have a spiritual gifting, they feel like they can put me by attrition in such a bad position that just gross the crap out of me. But hey, I gotta do what I gotta do to survive. That's what women, out of jealousy, you are prepared to do to other women. On that day, you are not a woman anymore. When you are waiting for another woman to get raped, whatever you are is some spoof, some parody, some caricature of what you used to be. Because that is still a woman gempel. By another woman. There is no woman that is truly a woman that can ever watch the rape of another woman, no matter how much you might be envious of her. Because that act ought disgust you, given that it is a forceful entry into the body of somebody who has got the same body parts as you. If they did that to you, ungaba violated with PTSD. You are watching another woman getting raped. You allowed your pain to make you a monster, a beast, to make you basically indoda. Now where you've got manhood, I'll circumcise. You're not a woman anymore. Because why do things have to get to that point where God will be the one to take him out the way? When there's so many women listening to me, precisely because you have put him in a position to get murdered by God, to get taken out by God, to get killed by God. You have taken even his mercy away. Because if you had done anything differently, he might have lived to tell the story, because his witchcraft would have fallen on deaf ears. He might have actually been given an opportunity purely because Nina, you refuse to let him rape umuntu. Like you're giving your daughters away in rekisa. That's the thing about the cherita tserianing. A whoring all over the show. Sleeping around all over the show to get ahead. You go on out there and you act like a whole whore. A village bicycle won't is riding into you. How can you want to convert every woman into whatever you are? You want to make every woman the whore that you are by any means necessary. Understand, Uguti, guys, a rape victim is not a whore. A whore is a person that sleeps around. This woman is busy sleeping with men. She's a wayward woman. She's a prostitute. Do you understand? You cannot compare a woman that has been gang raped with a whore. They're not the same thing. Out in these streets, whores. Do you understand? That are thoroughly going out of their way to convert women that would never go out like that into whores. by inducing their rape. It's not the same thing. The raped women are victims when uzilahlile, uziphonsile, uziyenze ihor. But no. Apparently, allegedly, if I end up sleeping with some other woman's husband just to get out of the situation, I'm just as bad a whore as you. Omolatileng ay tuletse fel ko desking. Monna o nyetseng ko officing o mo latile wa fleta wa mo seduce wa robala le ena o botlo batla o nti compare nna after you put me in harm's way for years until I end up capitulating to nta e tsubile matekwana e loyang eng forcing gore ke belena ka korobela antsa nyetse. It's not the same thing. You put women in harm's way, and some of them, when they end up sleeping with married men, it's because of the fact that you put them in such a bad strait that they accommodated it. You impoverished other women. You impoverished women and put them in harm's way at the beck and call of banna. Ba dulang ba tsaba dilaga ditlhare ba tsirian. Ba dulang tsaba thaya di spirit. Mo ga di drinks tsaba side. They keep on roofing women with witchcraft. Men ba nyetseng ba na le basadi le bana. Mara since ba le busy ba robala le basadi ba bang out here in these streets, and basadi ha ba sa batle out of ego, out of pride, out of arrogance. They then tell themselves ukuthi ha ona mosadi o reng no. Abalo shapongwana batho a motsubisa ka korobela. Next thing, this woman has slept with a married man and she doesn't even know how that happened. That is not the same thing. Women, you put other women in a position to basically look like you, to look like whores when they're not. Because kaofela le tsubile le tawe, kaofela le high on the occult. And given that that's what you're out here in these streets doing so voluntarily, the Lord showed me you're gonna start border, you're gonna die. And man shonile, agna muntu ozon kumbulai, there's no one that's gonna miss you. Halo khopulwa, and that's gonna torment you. You will have been such a menace that your death will have been relief to certain people. I have a former colleague that at the same time that she cast spells on me, she cast spells on her younger sister that was still in freaking high school. Her younger sister on her so much. At the time we were 27, she was like 28. And I was 27. Her younger sister was still in high school. Naso matriculate. And I got a dream where both her younger sister and me were in the same witchcraft trap together. So also that chick destituted my future prospects for marriage, and she also destituted my future prospects for a strong career in one sitting of witchcraft. So the same spell that she cast on me, she cast it on her baby sister that was just 17. So I don't know what that little girl's life is looking like today. She's a woman in her, mid-20s now. She's a woman in her mid-20s now that is likely struggling to come up for air in a way that her sister has not struggled. Unless she sought the Lord's face for redemption. That she is going to have to forcibly end up with. Because she can't start her own career. Because her sister has gone on right ahead to mess up with the prospects of usiswakhe omncane. The little sister, before she could even exit high school. That's what some women out here in these streets are doing. 2 cousins, sisters, friends, banka basadi babang, and they put them in a position except when she wanted to take care of herself, to take in her stride a man because I am a travesty. Why? Because I've got everything I need in order to take care of myself, and yet strangely I'm not able to. And I've got a whole bunch of women sitting on my chest telling me, how really? When you get to go uyofunda, get your degree, get a job, we talkomela so you don't have to accommodate a rapist. Inja egnyangisayo, etwang tete, edulang eja matchstick the way in the ginzagateng. Mara ojo tepisa tabaro obalintlu, you're gonna have a home. Tansolo tsaya anything etwang mostrateng. A perfectly viable woman, otlalifil. She should be making money. Agagwazi, ngoba abafazi have put her in a position to accommodate a rapist. Indota ezoktumpa ngekorobela over and over and over again, even though I'm fun. Do you understand? How mo batlile mo agatileng teng. Mara we wa bona hore o sutleile, and at some point by attrition o khathala. So jaka ha go shebile hore o khathala neng. Hona le basadi le bona ba emeng to see hore grandchap o khathala neng. Le dlala ka maphelo a batho. You've made me play the Squid Game lankutla. You've put me up for death, up for grabs. That's what's good. Leng tatletse mo khudima the lapse of banna ba tsirianeng tse. Some of the most disgusting men on the earth feel entitled to me. All because women are like, no, not you. No, not you. Let anybody else on the left and on the right of you, up and down, spinning around in the spot, do something for themselves. Marawena, utlo setla. You o tlo nna ntse o bua nyenye modimo nyere Jesus nyenye modimo nyere Jesus o tlo nna ntse o bua ka ena o bo gena o entse ntwe re batlang gore o etse. According to 2 Timothy 3:3, according to 2 Timothy 3, what that makes you is a despiser of those who do good, where good is called evil and evil is called good. According to 1 Peter, I believe 4, you heap abuse on me because I've left the debauched lives that you're living. Thank God he lives. Thank God Jesus is real. Thank God God is a whole thing. Because if it wasn't, man oh man, because I would rather die, do you understand? Than ho fufulelwa mo go dima mmele wa ka ke le montle ke le mokana, just like it. Ke monna tsirianeng o gale grandshap and some masturbator at the prospect of horobala lenna. So by the time at wetsa ntwa yetsang, he's probably gonna come in like 2 seconds cause gala ntsa batla o kenada o tlong nyontshang o tsirianeng o tlong gelang mara ke mo accommodate. That's what under heaven you're expecting. Indoda that has been waiting with bated breath watching ama videos wam that are Christian, nonetheless ingathi ubukeli porn. Do you understand the way he is salivating outside of impilo mfazi angamfuni? You have gotten me gawked at by amadoda that would even go and lick kama abalo khora like screen sa iPhone ya bona watching me, screen sa Mac computer ya bona watching me, the way they are so satiated with lust ingathi babukeli porn, even though umfazi is a whole viable modest woman standing in front of them. Mara nkare nna ga ka apara ke busy mo porn setting ke apere kwa e kana fela le di fishnet stockings, and that's all they see. You expect ukuthi na nyolala ngenendo tenjalo. A man that's not even gonna care if you're enjoying yourself, if you're having fun, if you're in the moment with him, because all he's ever wanted to do is grunt on top of your body to a point where he will not care about the look on your face of disgust even as he is busy licking your neck. You want to put me in the house of Munna Ojwal, and you think Uguti, a holy God, he is so pure, is not gonna just throw you in hell before you can ever get to basically congratulate yourself and pat yourself on the shoulder for achieving that in the life of a woman. Do you know some of these men and women, they look at me like I'm sexless. When they look at me, all they think about is in Dabuguti. I haven't had sex in 12 years. When that's the only way that people are looking at you. They don't see a woman that is intelligent, that is smart, that should not be in this hole, in this rut. They see a woman with cobwebs in her nether regions because all they think about is sex all day long. It's just licentiousness. They're like the men of Sodom who are looking at the angels of God and they're like, bring them out, we want to know them. Something pure and Jafela, you want to ravage it. You just want to go and thrust your manhood into it. There's nothing else that is motivating you other than lust. Halena, any conviction of sin. Halebone, the inappropriateness of even imagining me as one who is sexless. Goodness gracious, what does that even mean? What does that even mean? I have become fetishized by Batubat Hirianing that are always watching pornography and they imagine I am grabbable with their grubby fingers purely because of my sorrow and my suffering. Well, and the thing about that dream of me, it was a vision. The thing about that vision of me seeing a whole bunch of people burning in hell, saddened by the fact that I didn't care they were there, and that for some of them I was even relieved that they were there, is that I, in that vision, was still here, struggling. God was giving me a timeline. The Lord was giving me He was giving me a timeline. He was not showing me the tribulation after the rapture has happened. He was not showing me broken through out there, flying in the sunset, doing my own thing. He wasn't showing me a version of me in the future. He was showing me a version of me in this present time. I was still struggling. I was still dealing with challenges with my computer, challenges with my phone. In that dream, I was in this exact position. And yet they were in hell, wondering why they didn't embrace grace, and more than anything, tormented by the fact that so finally they cared about how I feel. Finally they walked in an appropriateness of emotion. Finally, this little barik Yagwa America who is listening to my content and goes back to the drawing board and a lawyer does not care that I know he's a witch, does not care that I know he doesn't care that I know he is just a menace of a man. He doesn't care that I find him disgusting. He just can't wait to grunt on me. That's all that he's waiting to do. He does not care that I want nothing to do with him, that I find him disgusting. He doesn't care that I have no feelings for him. He literally does not care. Well, from what I saw in my dream, he will finally care that I don't care. He will finally care that I hated him so much that I wanted him dead. He will finally care that I wanted him out of the way through that I have been petitioning God day and night. He will finally care now that he's in hell, that I don't care, that I am relieved that he is there. Saddened by his condemned state and the fact that right now he should care that enough to leave me alone. Now is the time for him to basically mourn over tabarakna tabagayen. This is the right time to mourn over tabayauri angimfunala gande khona uyanyanyisa. Now is the time for him to recognize ukuthi uziyenze siboko, weekends siboko in my life. He's made himself a snake, a snare. He has made himself a tang, something so disgusting that I hate it. He should care now, because now is the only time when he has grace. Kodwa utobaletaba of such things as those sasa atloka fets tabor ha keto better an island or ha kontshakeledi ke re one. If anything, go taba, go rejoice. Find out he's only then and that man is no different from many of y'all who are about to go to hell. And from what the Lord showed me in this present time, as in I will still be struggling. I will not yet have my breakthrough. I will not yet have monetized anything. I will still be in this green when some of these people are in hell burning. So it is not the rapture first. I won't be gone. It is not happening in the distant future. It's something so immediate that it is going to catch me and therefore them, since in this grain. That's what I saw in my vision. While I am still in this position, there will be people who are going to very shortly plunge into the abyss and then feel all devastated by the fact that I don't give a rat's behind that they're in hell. If anything, I'm relieved. Because that's what happens when you don't wear wisdom. That's what happens when you make yourself a menace in society. That's what happens when you make yourself a torment, a scare, a terror in the lives of people. When you die, they get relieved. But it does not just end at death. Apparently, allegedly, you get tormented by the fact that you were such a menace that upon going to hell, people got relieved that you left the earth. Apparently, people, after they pass away, if they've been menaces, get to be sad that people were glad that they died. Perspective ultimately reaches you. So those are y'all that pride yourselves in your apathy, in your disregard and disrespect of other people. Pride yourself in Tabaure, the girl you were competing with in high school has been gang raped. So now she's no longer the prissy little virgin that she used to be. And now the girl you used to envy is no longer what she used to be. She's a fragment of herself. She's distant, she's removed, she's suicidal. And you pride yourself in the fact that she has a papa like a peacock. She's not a peacock on the rooftops anymore. She's not busy taking selfies 20 times a day on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram. You pride yourself in the fact that she's not rocking up wearing all of those clothes of hers in front of you anymore. Because bam repil, bam bonisile. They put her in a place. When as a woman, that's how you think. That your rival, the person you were competing with, when they get raped, you think that they got put in their place. When women start to think like that, there is no woman left. There's no society remaining, do you understand? When out of sheer competition with a woman, you will pride yourself in the fact that 5 men thrust themselves into her until she lost her personality, until she became suicidal, until she became so traumatized that she couldn't go out in public anymore, until she got withered away at her sense of self-worth, until she became obese. When you pride yourself in a woman that you used to compete with being ravished by a whole bunch of beastly men when it could have been you, you are no longer a woman, because there is a time for everything. On the school playground, cat fighting. There comes a time when you gotta put your little cat fighting, feisty attitude against the woman that you are competing with behind you. You should put it behind you. The cherry that were competing with me, that prided themselves in traumatized, wanting to take me by fire by force. You pride yourself in I've been put in my place. I've been dragged down, and there's a whole bunch of men ripping apart my clothes trying to come into my body and I'm apparently being handled according to women on that day. When you think that way about a woman, you are no longer a woman. You are some byproduct of what you used to be. You're a caricature. There's nothing left of you. We zombie shop. There's nothing left. My ex-boyfriend that used to compete with me, if she is not ashamed of being with that mess of a man, she is not a woman. Because even though we used to compete rivals, like no man, I used to slay her. But upon finding these things out about her husband / my ex-boyfriend, she should of him and also of herself for listening to all of his lies. She should be embarrassed and she should be sad for me. That her husband has held me hostage for 12 years, girlfriend. I guess any other man other than him. He was the last guy I was with. 12 years young. Immediately I got tall and Jane A1. Nobody has ever made a responsible decision where I'm concerned in 12 years. Her man is looking like a whole high priest of the devil. And if at all she's not embarrassed by that, and if she's not ashamed of him, and if in and of herself she is not putting down her rivalry and her beef with me, she should be ashamed of that man for whole hostage taking, taking his ex-girlfriend and incarcerating her for 12 years, 12 years. 12 years. No woman should ever pride themselves for being chosen by a man like that. But not first before making sure ex-girlfriend it's anyway. He has incarcerated solitary confinement and in the center of the earth where no one will ever find me. On the day you wake up to the reality of the fact that your husband has done that. All of you women that pride yourselves in having stolen men, if at all the ex-girlfriend is facing legacy because if you're not gonna act appropriately as abafazi, rivalry, the competition you were in with her during fluffy times, during lazy days, during days when there was no war. Now that there is a war, you better put your arms together as women and fight for our safety because la matota lana abolile. Ba busy ntse ba re koleka kaofela ba re rape ba re kena mo hara mekoto re ska nyalwa. It's about time le ema. Even if these men ke banna ba lona, you gotta stand with what is right, otherwise your future as a woman in this country is over. South African women, bona banna ba lona ba tshwarisitse dimedi tsa bona tsa kgale jwang. My ex-boyfriend's wife, who used to be a rival of mine and side piece in our relationship, you are not a woman if you don't stand with me, wankutla. How almost side if you don't stand with me? Because is an abomination. He's made it impossible for you to even move on. How? He's made it impossible for you in that marriage with your children to move on. He's made it impossible for you above reproach because if you don't stand with me, you're gonna look like you stand with what that man did. You're gonna look like you stand with what my ex-boyfriend did. You're gonna look like you're gonna look really bad. You're gonna look like some freaking Bonnie and Clyde pairing, some murderous couple. Except I don't even think you ever intended for die idiot to hold his ex-girlfriend hostage, because that would mean ukuthi now you are under the shadow of a woman I don't even think you signed up for that. You might have prided yourself in taking or in getting married to the man that never proposed marriage to me, but on the day you find out that he has gone on right ahead and held his ex-girlfriend hostage, on that day, that's when you gotta literally forget about that bugger and stand with me. Basadi, you've been warned. Amatota enu are about to go to hell by Yosha. But if you don't do what is right, you've got the body parts of a woman. Hostage. They are holding women hostage. 12 years, you don't get girl. Last guy I ever slept with is your husband. What kind of rubbish is that? Anyway, whatever. Wait a king, do you, Basad? Stand, continue to aim, and let these men get away with murder. But bottom line is where yes, I discovered that you have a daughter. Last time I checked, the firstborn child between the two of y'all is a girl. If you women don't do what is right, your daughters are next. The boyfriend that are the sons of these guys, they are going to follow after their fathers because it's a generational curse. Your sons in the future are going to hold Medizabo hostage that break up with them after some time, and your daughters they're going to end up capitulating to banna ba dikorobela lonna lenyadisa bana ba lona ko banna ba twasitseng or batwetseng monna o twele. He is a whole devil worshipper. Marupizo batla ngala ngwana wa ngonyana. You're next. If you don't stand with me, random wife of my ex and other women out here in these streets banang le mona halesa emelenna, your daughters are next. Ke bona ba tlo katwang ke banna when it comes to your own backyard. On that day, maybe you will stop being that shallow. Maybe you won't be so shallow. Maybe le ka se be as shallow as you presently are. Ha se jwanong ntanyana e tsheryaneng mo strateng e tla buzzing around like ntsinsi e tlo batla ho lo nyala ngwana ha wa ngonyana. That's when things are gonna get real, are they not? Things are gonna finally get real when now some bugger o tserianeng o tsubileng matekwane o tsebang korobela o tlonka ngwana hao o montle hampe wa ngonyana alo monyala wena o sa dikene ha hona ntho o tlo kgonang go etsa cause ngwana hao o tla ba a le in a trance, for crying out loud. Matlho a gagwe a le squint, hypnotized, spirals running mo matlhong a gagwe because monna teng o mo jisitse, and mo teng le ntatwa teng ha hona ntho ba ka ibuang o preventa ngwana bona o nganyana from marrying such an evil man. O tla balea alo ilopa even though she was the best girl eskolweni. endlini bathatha anything abayifunayo lamadoda. They've got sticky fingers, you understand? They just take it bayayifuna bayayithatha bavele bagijime bahambe gone with your kid. So if you don't stand with me in 2023, understand, in 2037 it's your girl children, it's your daughters today. Get these sons of these men, and they will inevitably inherit the generational curses of their dads. Don't say I didn't warn you. I'm signing out in Christ's name, Cran K.